'Twas back in the university days in the lovely month of June, when the gadflies they were swarming and jogs were howling at the moon. The exams they were all over, it was time to have some fun. We were in Stranmillis Gardens and the crack was 91. But the next day was important, so we couldn't let it slide. 'Twas the last match of the season for the BMS 11-a-side. But still we kept on drinking and the bottle was passed about. And Baz McConville got such courage to finally ask Riona out. So we finished all the decent booze, but we didn't call it a night. We found a bottle of Tesco's vodka and mixed it up with Sunny Delight. The team sheet it was spread out 4-4-2 in the natural distribution. We had some disheartening dummy runs on the old Pro Evolution. Some of the lads got on the knee seeking inspiration from the gods, and Marco knew his place was safe, 'cause he was the token prod. As one by one we fell asleep, Boris had a dream. He dreamt himself and then McCartan sat down to pick a team. And so they both agreed on John Joe Hardigan straight away, and the Davy brothers and Tubby, well, they were certainties to play. But tempers they began to fray, this was no easy job. Daniel wanted Niall Neeson and Boris wanted Bob. Then things got rather heated. Boris kicked Dan in the sack, who wanted to bring rawhide, and we James McCartan back. Then Dan put on his boxing gloves, said we'll fix this with a bout. And then Boris threatened to take off his shoes, and Dan said, on second thoughts, I think we can sort this out. Dan's tactics were the long ball, he said, you've got to feed the goat. And Boris went and got his full-length Theodora coat. And after some last-minute switches, there was nothing more to do. And so they watched on from the sidelines as the ref's whistle it blew. Now the opposing team were disciplined, and they moved it with some spice. And 30 minutes in, well, Queens were skating on thin ice. The first goal was inevitable, Queens were running to the ground. And at half-time they were lucky just to go in 2-0 down. But Connor's talk was the whole 9 yards, Queens came out the better side. And when Phil Davy pulled one back, the gap no longer seemed that wide. And in the 80th minute, Nietzsche's left peg pulled a volley from thin air, and his shot curved in the top corner, and the sides they were all square. But their star forward got an awful knock. Jesus, it was a serious issue. Baz McConville had to be stretchered off, the physio suspected connective tissue. And Dan looked down at the subs bench, he was totally dismayed. But Panner took off his Theodora coat and said it's time for Boris the Blade. And Boris came on just at the same time. There was a streaker on the pitch. Boris thought, that's no streaker, that's our sweeper. Put your kid on, Baz, you son of a bitch. Then the game resumed and Boris proceeded to boss it round the field. And they were holding out for penalties and just trying not to yield. But in the 90th minute, Bob, he pumped a long ball up the park, and Boris jostled for position just like a total shark. And this was their opportunity to win in normal time. And you could have heard a pin drop as the soccer ball did climb. The ball, it came to Kev McVeigh, but Kev could not be fucked. It sailed on to Kevin O'Grady, and Kevin O'Grady ducked. And the ball, it fell to Murney. He said, "This where the polo ball's not that wet." And then Boris stood over it like Stevie G, and he stuck it in the net. The ref, he blew his whistle. On top of Boris they all piled. And then Beavis took his top off, and the ladies all went wild. Gazari messaged Babsy, where are you? Boris just scored a beaut. And Pepsi texted back, I'm playing snooker with a Polish prostitute. But in the real world dawn was breaking, and this dream was almost done. And Boris watched on, and his teammates all vanished one by one. Then the cock crew in the morning, it crew loud and it crew shrill. And Boris was a-walking by her Avenelli. I'm sorry, I mean Dr. Phil. And O'Connor is turning 30, those days are dead and gone. Neve gets him just for men for grey hairs, it now comes in strawberry blonde. And the rest of the dream team are older too, all moving on with their lives. Career progression, mortgages, babbies and new wives. But as we keep moving forward, sometimes it's good to look back to friendships made, to Boris the Blade, those years of brilliant crack. So charge and raise your glasses, here's to his burgeoning decade. To the Honourable Prince Harry, I'm sorry, I mean Boris the Blade. And you know that Polish girl, she turn up in Tessie's the other day and ask for a Pepsi Max?